Songwriting is not mystical, which is a good thing and a bad thing, and depending on who you are, you might think it's more of a good thing or a bad thing, but regardless, let's talk about it. So some people like to pretend or fantasize that art is essentially some fanciful delusion of just sitting around and waiting for some sexy muse to just whisper something beautiful and amazing and inspired in your ear, and that's stupid. That's stupid. That's just not what art is, and frankly, a lot of art, if not most art, is perspiration or work rather than just inspiration. Yes, inspiration is great. It's amazing when we are writing inspired. It's great to have that spark or that gasoline on the fire. That's amazing. And inspiration is something that helps us to write things better sometimes. It certainly helps us to write faster. It's a beautiful thing. I'm not anti-inspiration, but to pretend like songwriting is just sitting around and waiting for inspiration to strike, it's not. That's not what songwriting is going to look like probably 90% of the time. And this may surprise you and hopefully encourages you, but some, if not most, of your great stuff will end up coming in moments that you aren't inspired or didn't think you were inspired. And also, a lot of taking a song from okay to good or good to great is actually in work, not in inspiration. Very often, inspiration is what will help you to come up with ideas that have a lot of potential. But just like everything else in life, potential and actual are very different. Work is what's going to actually make the actual part. So you can have a great idea because you were inspired, but if you don't put in the work, your inspired idea might end up going to waste with a crap song. Or the opposite can be true too. You didn't even really have an inspired start, but because you put the hard work in, you actually made a really good song despite the fact that you really weren't that inspired throughout the entire process. Admittedly, there is a tension between writing with our heart and writing with our brain, but both are important and helpful. Something else that people often get wrong is this silly idea that when it comes to science, it's all about brain, and when it comes to art, it's all about heart. That's silly. You need both for both, because if you have science without heart, you end up doing some really evil, awful things that you shouldn't do. And if you have art without a brain, you might have this thing that appears beautiful, but really is just stupid and pointless because it's just surface level beauty. And who cares about surface level beauty? You need to have actual depth, which usually using your brain when it comes to writing is going to help with. And talking about the brain side again, brain is what learning and practicing have to do with. You don't practice with your heart or learn with your heart. And learning and practicing are really important for improving at songwriting. So if you just write with your heart forever, you're probably going to be the same songwriter 20 years from now as you are today. And again, I'm not diminishing the importance of heart. A song without heart, who cares? But also, a song without brain, who cares? They're both very important. Just some quick examples of what maybe writing with your brain looks like. Anytime you're utilizing any music theory knowledge when you write, that's using your brain. Anytime you use your knowledge of poetry, whether that be rhyme or meter, that's using your brain. If you just follow your heart everywhere, it's going to lead you to disastrous places, which by the way is true in life too. In general, heart is really good for finding that song spark and inspiration, and your brain is what's going to be really helpful to help push through and actually make your song good at the end of the day. Really, we need both. They both are important, they both have strengths, and if you just commit to using one, you're probably going to miss out. This final point might be the most important point I make in this video, and that is that the process does not equal the result. You could write a song in 15 minutes, and it came together really quickly, and it be terrible. Or you could write a song in 15 minutes, and it came together really quickly, and it'd be amazing. Or you could write a song that took you weeks and weeks and months, or maybe even years, and the whole time it was a slog, and you were never inspired, and it actually come out really great. Or you could do that and it end up being crappy. This silly fanciful idea that how good your song is has anything to do with how good the story of how you wrote your song is insane. By the way, my favorite video that just so well illustrates this is this great video of a booktuber talking to Brandon Sanderson. If you don't know, Brandon Sanderson is one of the biggest fantasy authors out there, and basically he is tier ranking his books based on how good of an experience it was to write them, which is not the same as tier ranking how good he thinks they are. And the booktuber kept being really surprised, like, what? That was a really difficult book to write, but it felt so natural, it felt so good. Yes, just like anything else, sometimes a process that's a mess actually has a pretty good result. Some of the best movies ever were actually terrible productions where everybody was miserable. And then lots of productions, especially recently, where all the cast and crew are like bragging about like, oh, we just love each other so much. It's like one big happy family. It's like, doesn't matter. What you made was crap. It doesn't matter that the process was fun because the end result was garbage. The process does not equal the result. You can struggle the entire time you're writing a song and write something amazing. You can have a song come together really naturally and it just be kind of okay. The idea that the more magical the process was, the more good your song will be is patently false. It just isn't true. So basically, stop chasing a beautiful and magical process and chase a beautiful and magical result. If you found this helpful and you want to make songwriting even less mystical, because again, it's not mystical, be sure to check out my 6-step lyric writing checklist. It breaks down lyric writing into 6 steps. Not mystical, which will help you to write better lyrics more repeatedly because you're not just going by feel in my heart and then you end up with lyrics that are kind of a mess and you're like, I don't know what to do. Breaking up lyric writing into baby steps is really a great way to make lyric writing easier. So be sure to check that out, songwritertheater.com/lyric checklist. My free gift to you. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Talk to you in the next one.